Okay, is this working? I'm getting all kinds of error message on here saying things like YouTube is not streaming now. So let me give it a minute to settle down and see if it's actually going to work at this time. Okay. Oh, good. So you see me, you hear me. I have been struggling for the last 20 minutes trying to get this stupid thing to actually fire up and work, and getting all kinds of messages from YouTube saying live streaming is not working now or something. Uh, but I guess I finally hammered my way through. All right. I can take that. Okay, so what am I doing here? This past weekend I put up a video where I mentioned all the terrible things that creationists try to argue and how they're the basic stuff that they do not understand, yet they keep hammering me at it, you know. So I was just getting fed up because I get all this email right now from creationists and Christians who are trying to tell me, "Oh yeah, this is the way it is," and you got to question evolution. And um, anyway, you can watch the video. I'll put a link to it down below when I'm done. So it's a straightforward video, not too long. You can do it. And the thing is, I it didn't quell all of the comments. I'm still getting all this weird email, and in some ways, it's gotten even worse. So I thought I would take a moment and address some of the comments I got. Unfortunately, what that probably means is it'll just amplify the absurdity of their responses. So you can't win, but I'll do it anyway, for a little while anyway. So let me switch this over. Let's take a look at the video comments on that stream. And here we go. So give it a minute, just a minute. It'll come up. Come on, you can do it. YouTube also seems kind of slow. Anyway, so this is just the comments thread from that particular video, and we can see. I'll kind of skip over some of the really obvious basic ones, and also the ones that are being nice and saying nice things. Thank you anyway for saying the nice things. That's all good. So what do we got here? Well, first of all, let me move a few things around so I can have everything in view. Okay. So here are the comments. And look here, just in the last hour, look at this loony comment I got. I told you it just doesn't help when I try and criticize this stuff, but here we go. So we got Truth Leaker 222, and he says, they say you have to believe Jesus died for your sins to be saved. Lies. Okay, I agree so far. And then Satan believes that. No, you have to be trustworthy to be on a spaceship the size of the moon and to begin again when brought back. Um, you see what I'm dealing with here. Okay. They will know instantly through telepathy if you are a MAGA. People who have never heard this gospel will be rescued. And most of the people running around misinforming others so that they can fit in and hide from accountability on earth, the evangelicals, will be left on the planet for the passage of Planet Nine. Is this that Nibiru stuff? Oh boy. Okay, Planet Nine came down on the opposite side of the sun through the Kuiper Belt on October 20th, 2015, through Halloween and escaped and destroyed stereo behind. Oh, God. Okay, this is just totally bats. All right. Uh, what are we supposed to do to address this? It's got pyramids. It's got astrology. It's got uh, that's why so many graves right outside are sealed in underground rooms and also sealed with pitch in three. Okay, pyramidology stuff. Yeah. Um, I hope the rest aren't this bad. Some of them are pretty bad, but this is just absolute lunacy. So, you guys out there watching this, you in the comments, do you have answers? Can you tell me how this works? I'm waiting for comments to give me all the answers, right? Because I sure don't know what's going on here. Um, and why this person thinks leaving a comment like that is going to impress anybody at all. Okay, let's skip that one. Let's see. Yeah, here we go with Truth Leaker 222 again. It's impossible to believe wholeheartedly in religion if you studied anything else. That's why they preach it's a sin to question God. I question them. Well, good for you on that part. And when I did, I uncovered the biggest scam that exists. I do believe we will be rescued, but not by any God from the Old Testament, but from aliens who saw that religion would destroy us, make us extinct. Christ had the church convinced he was preaching against religion, and they murdered him. Um, okay. Steeped really deeply in the conspiracy theories, isn't he? Yeah, well, let's see. Somebody's got to say something more intelligent. Too bad that Christianity in particular is a private enterprise industry, tax-free in the USA. Oh, I agree with that. The reason Christianity has taken over this country is they've got all these privileges. It's tax exempt, and nothing is enforced. I mean, it's supposed to be distinct from politics, and of course, it's thoroughly wrapped up in politics, and nobody cares. The IRS doesn't go in and say, "Hey, you keep on endorsing candidates. We're going to have to remove your tax exempt status." They never do that. Okay, so let's see, two crazy ones and one I agree with. Religion is just a corrupt business practice from the past. Oh, I can tell we got a lot of atheists here. Yeah. And yeah, so I'll disregard I think they meant scientia, and my own empathy and critical thinking skills to believe in empty promises of milk and honey. Yeah, no, don't do that. All right, let's get into some fun stuff here. Here is Eric Johnson, 6665, who says, yes, evolution is a fact, and life was designed is also a fact. In order for life to evolve, it had to be designed to do so. Each of its functions was designed, and those designs must work better than anything that humans have designed. Somebody is hung up on the word design. No, I don't. Okay, so evolution is a fact, sure, but if you appreciate that evolution is a fact, you got to recognize that evolution was not a linear progression. It doesn't go in particular directions. It just kind of bumbles and bumps around, trying to stumble onto a successful strategy for survival. So it definitely does not show any of the evidence of design that this guy wants us to think is there. And yeah, we got replies to that. Nope, no design. Yep. Yes, if it's a fact, then you should be able to demonstrate empirically this designer, right? Or at least evidence of the design process. And this is something that we hammer on creationists all the time. Show me evidence. Just show me evidence. I'd like to see evidence that there was a designer, but hey, if you could trot out a blueprint for all life on Earth, and no, DNA is not a blueprint. If you could trot that out and show that to us, that would be interesting and useful. They're not going to do that. Okay, this person's got it right. What utter crap. Yes, it's utter crap. Let's see, what do we got down here? Okay, you're not a true Christian unless you believe in codification of slavery set forth in the Bible. This is kind of a common atheist strategy, and I hate to criticize a supporter, but I don't believe that religion is something that changes over time. It changes with different people. It's an attempt to explain the world, and it's quickly outmoded all the time. And actually, the main use of religion seems to be to confirm your prior biases. So yeah, you can be a true Christian and you can disbelieve in slavery. I have no problem with that. I would wish that more Christians would follow that kind of strategy. Okay, I'm seeing we got comments over here. The audio of this live stream is a lot better than said video. Yeah, there's some funny stuttering stuff going on with the video. I don't know. It's a YouTube problem, not a me problem. So it's okay because I can foist it off on somebody else. Okay, let's see what Practice Righteousness has to say. The theory of physical evolution has never been proven true scientifically. No one has ever witnessed one species changed into a completely different species, like a cold-blooded reptile changing into a warm-blooded mammal. That's not what we would expect of evolution. So that's a silly objection. Several people pointed me to a recent YouTube video by Clint's Reptiles. He's a God believer, and he was carefully pointing out a lot of the fallacies in what people were saying. And one of his things he emphasized, and I'll agree entirely with this, is that you can't leave the clade you're born into. So you can't change from one grouping, that is, for instance, in this case, from cold-blooded reptiles, okay, poikilotherms, into mammals. You can't. But you can have reptiles evolving into warm-blooded reptiles, like birds, for instance. So this is a silly objection. It's somebody who doesn't understand the actual practice or theory of evolution making up a bunch of nonsense. And then he says, and because this theory of physical evolution have never been proven true scientifically, believing it's true is a matter of faith, not a matter of fact. No, it's not a matter of faith. It's a matter of accepting the available evidence. So we look at the evidence and we have a theory that conforms to that evidence. So we're going to provisionally accept it. If you want to say it's false, you're going to have to come up with evidence against it. And preferably, you are going to come up with evidence in favor of your alternative hypothesis. So Practice Righteousness fails to do that. And he goes on to say, science claimed to have found a fossil of a reptile with feathers. Yeah, that's happened. But that does not prove that this reptile had changed from one species into a completely different species or were about to do so. Species don't change, individuals in a species do not change into another species. The process of speciation is a population level event. So no, this is again another silly objection. And he says an assumption is not the same as a fact. Okay, sure. You can argue for your assumption-based belief from now on until the sun comes up again, till tomorrow morning. Okay, but that will not change the fact that I am right about this. You are wrong about this. And our next reply says, poor understanding of evolution, check. Tuco, check. Yeah. Yeah, so why is it that I can post something where I say here are the criteria for a good argument against my beliefs for my beliefs about atheism. And the first thing I said was, don't waste my time arguing against the established science. Okay. Science and religion can be perfectly compatible. But then we get the batshit crazy kooks coming in and presenting their weird version of what science and religion are. It's utterly pointless. The only people who are arguing on the basis of religious belief are the people like Practice Righteousness. Just from the name, you know there's something wrong with that boy. Okay. Uh, so perhaps this is implicitly covered in your points, but I am so tired of evangelicals who try to win me over with their sincerity. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about that, but yeah, the smarmy evangelicals who try to cozy up to you and be all sincere and loving and so forth. No, forget those. You can see right through them. You know the truth. Jesus reigns. Ah, flat assertion of dogma. This is not an argument. Okay. Let's see. So here's a scientist educator who I haven't heard from in about a decade. Where have you been? I've been here all this time. Actually, about a decade ago was when I switched from science blogs to free thought blogs. So maybe I lost a few people on the way. But now you know you can find me. Let's see. You should bow before the invisible pink unicorn. Just as likely as me bowing before Jesus. Yep. Let's see. Captain Bart Roberts says, I don't get over it. I don't get it. I've never known an atheist to buttonhole me. Yeah, there's a difference in tactics here. That atheists aren't generally proselytizers. They make their arguments, but they put them in a place where you can just go. If you want to, you can look it up and read them, like this YouTube channel, or go read Dawkins' book about God, and Hitchens or something like that. But we don't go around door to door ringing your doorbell and saying, yeah, have you seen the truth of nothing? Okay. Placebo effect. Yeah, that's something. Oh boy, here comes I think I've got a higher proportion of weirdness here. Anyway, this is Marco McLaurin 6713. He says, I'll demonstrate with observable material evidence evolution is backwards. And he says, I claim transmutation by electrical process of genetically superior creatures in my video, The Beginning of Understanding. Okay, the electrical process of genetically superior creatures. I don't even know what those words mean. But yes, I actually went and looked at this video. It's titled The Beginning of Understanding by this guy. It's not worth it. It really isn't. It's a very strange video where he's got some lined paper and he's handwritten some notes on it. And the video is just him, showing himself going through all this nonsense. So no, don't bother. That is not an argument. I could get a piece of lined paper and scribble God is dead and show it on the screen. That wouldn't do the trick. Okay. Yeah. You want more of my talks? I'm not charismatic at all. I never got that. But anyway, yes, I'll tell my students that you're supposed to be more appreciative of my lectures. But yeah, the religions don't understand science and its method. This is true. They have no idea what it's about. Yeah. If they're just saying the Bible says such and such, that's not science. Got to have some kind of critical perspective on what you're reading. And as I mentioned in my video, you got to go through and give me multiple lines of evidence that converge on a common ancestor. That's what we need. And that's what they never deliver. Let's see. Yeah, first show me some verifiable evidence of any God doing anything. Okay, that's fine. And uh, oh, then here's our reply to that one. Does nothing exist? Everything that exists is because of something. How do you know that? This is just the first cause argument, and that's just an assertion. It's not shown to be true. So everything that exists is because of something. Even if I accept that, that something isn't necessarily a supreme being. You know, it could be a physical consequence of some tiny, minute little trigger. Yeah, so I don't buy that one at all. Yeah, the usual, what cause the God exist? Okay. All right, Mort 7 and Galactus and most of the classic Marvel universe created, drawn, and written by Jack Kirby, credit stolen by Stan Lee. I knew the comic book nerds would show up. Okay. Yeah, I used for for the thumbnail for the video, I used a picture of Galactus pronouncing that you're puny evangelist can't affect me. Uh, that was just a joke. I'm not con- I'm not calling myself equivalent to Galactus. I don't think so. And I just repeated the joke with the thumbnail for this video. But don't worry, I'm not planning to keep that theme going. Yeah, Galactus is just this caricature of a super powerful being, greater than a god, apparently. Uh, yeah, don't care. It's a joke. Let's see this next one. I'm spiritual and dimensional. Even in the spiritual side of things, nirvana from Buddhism is closer to the truth of the spiritual than any god ever is. Okay, we're getting into the new agey stuff here. Um, it's a nice reprieve from Christian dogma, but it's just as bogus. Yeah. Nirvana from Buddhism is closer to the truth of the spiritual. What is the spiritual? You haven't told me anything about spirituality. And Nirvana is just a word, or a really good grunge band from Seattle. So no, that makes no sense either. Scientifically and historically, stick to the facts and to logical possibilities. All right, I agree with that, but I'm sorry, Nirvana, Buddhism, spiritualism, none of those things are logical possibilities. And walk in enlightenment, don't be evil or do evil actions. Okay, fine. Define enlightenment, but yeah, I agree, don't do evil. And yeah, he doesn't define it. Too abstract, can't be bothered. That's fair. Then return to monkey. Oh boy. Okay. You see the kind of rabbit hole I fall into when I actually read the comments in these videos. All right, now we got Canadian Anglican who says something I do sort of agree with. Science and religion are intertwined. They can coexist. As a Christian, I love science. Very good. I kind of agree with that. And I tried to set this up in the video that there's one question about science and origins and evolution and all that stuff. And then there's the question about the existence of God. Those can be two completely different questions. They don't have to overlap. You can have somebody who is deeply religious and who is able to set that aside when they go into the lab and do research. So that's fine. Like the first reply says, compartmentalization. That's a deal. It does not mean though that religion is valid. It's like lots of things people do and believe in, and they're not necessarily scientifically justifiable. And that's okay. You don't have to justify everything. You don't have to have a scientific equation that explains why you've fallen in love with somebody. So don't sweat it. But you haven't given me any evidence that this deity exists. Oh, good comment from Crypti. Closer to the spiritual means closer to my opinion. Yeah. Spirituality is just this nebulous thing that you can use to justify anything. Let's see. Seriously, religion is revelatory knowledge. Define knowledge. Oh, I see. He's going to say that those things are not compatible. All right, that's fine. Yeah, I disagree that religion is a form of knowledge. You could argue it's a form of psychological self-knowledge or something, but that's about it. It's not knowledge about the material world. Okay, science is the fingerprint of God. What a useless sentence. Yeah, that's just what would be called a deepity. It doesn't mean anything. Science is not the fingerprint of God. It's okay. Yeah, show me the finger. Oh, that's rude. Yeah, and you cannot say that religion has any science. Those are different things. All right. Andrew Linney says, okay, I understand why you said what you don't want, but as atheists, we also need to be explicit about what we do want. We want evidence. And I agree with this, that, yeah, that's ultimately what we want. The purpose of that video was to state the fallacies that I'm often presented as instead of evidence. So it's saying you can't make this kind of comment. You got to do something a little more if you want to persuade me. And really, that's what it's all about. I was being self-centered and saying, yeah, if you want to talk to me, if you want to convince me of your worldview, there are certain criteria you have to meet. And I have never met a religious person who meets those criteria. And all I can say is, that's fine. You go do you, but you're not going to convince me of this stuff. Okay, so here we've got this guy. I think is giving us a sarcastic example of personal testimony. This follows the structure of a lot of personal testimony. Back when I was an atheist, I knew that God was real, but wanted to sleep in on Sundays, commit drugs, and do sins and stuff. Yeah, if you listen to any of the Christian apologists out there, that's what they do. It's so common to hear them say, I used to be an atheist. But then I got sucked into the world of drugs and sex and promiscuity. And it was only when I discovered Jesus that I became a fulfilled person. That's so common. And I don't believe any of it. I'm about as confirmed an atheist as you'll find. Rigidly atheist, I would say, even. Uh, but I would say that, when I was a child growing up, I wouldn't have called myself an atheist. I didn't know what the distinction was. So it wasn't a big deal to me. I went to church. I just didn't believe. I guess that's sufficient to be an atheist. Uh, and there's been nothing since that time when I saw through the baloney of religion that I have been persuaded of anything to recommit me to religious belief. The only thing that could do that to me right now, I think, is brain damage. Let's see, one thing for sure. Pentecostals are the most immature group of people singing children's nursery rhymes called praise, to motormouth goat herders up front, needing Holy Spirit refills every week, speaking in cartoon language. Yeah, Pentecostals are weird. As I mentioned, I was brought up in a church once upon a time that it never stuck, but I was brought up in a liberal Lutheran church. And even we would have been kind of horrified at the whole idea of Pentecostals. No, those were false believers, right? Okay, let's see. Turn to Jesus before it's too late. Before it's too late for what? He doesn't say. Oh no. Turn to Jesus before it's too late for dessert tonight. Okay. Yeah, then we get the usual sarcastic replies. That's fine. Yeah. Spaghetti flying monster. That's a joke reply to that sort of thing. Some Christians seem to take it as a serious consideration. No, nobody believes in the flying spaghetti monster. Let's see. The natural and supernatural world reveals the truth of the Bible. Oh, 2 points on that. The natural world does not support the Bible. The natural world, that evidence contradicts the Bible, so we can reject that. And what supernatural world? Show me a supernatural world. Show me a supernatural phenomenon. Yeah, you're going to have to do that before you can call that evidence. Oh, and here's Mr. Practice Righteousness coming along. The fundamentals laws of logic which Jesus created. According to the words of Jesus, he is not the creator. Oh yeah, okay, this baddie guy. He doesn't like Christianity apparently, but he falls for every other weird mythology he can find. Turn to Thor before your soul is lost. Okay. Yeah, let's skip those. The PZ Meyer equivalent of the height requirement on a roller coaster. Okay, who the heck is PZ Meyer? People keep talking about him to me, but anyway, I get the point. Yeah, that was kind of the purpose of the video, is to say, here's kind of the minimal stuff you have to meet if you want to get into a serious argument with me about religion. Oh yeah, this next post mentions Clint's reptiles. Yeah, I've been watching Clint's reptiles for a long time because, as you might guess, I'm into weird animals, spiders in particular. Not so much into reptiles, but he's done a couple of spider videos that I've enjoyed. And yeah, he's doing it the right way. He mentioned he's a believer in God, but it's not part of the science. That's the only sensible way to get through it. Uh, okay, and it gets a response. Mormons, apparently Clint is a Mormon. Mormons making jabs at young Earth creationists is a little pot kettle, though. How can you accept evolution and haplogroups and all that kind of stuff and still think Joseph Smith had anything to say? Once again, I'll just be a little bit conciliatory towards Clint, is because we don't know what his beliefs are. All he said was he believes in God. He was apparently brought up a Mormon, but we don't know anything about what his opinion of Mormon dogma is, though. So let's be a little less quick off the blocks to jump on people for beliefs they don't necessarily have. Yeah, we could probably argue about belief in God generally. Why do you believe in God? But I'm not going to get mad at him because he's part of a group of, like I said, I grew up Lutheran. Lutherans are just as batty as Mormons. Christians are just as batty as, yeah, I know Mormons are Christians too. They're weird subgroup of Christians. So yeah, this is something I don't particularly care for, is grouping everyone who likes to go to church and finds comfort in belief in God with every batty wacko that's got some weird conspiracy theorist view. That's not a valid criticism. All right, we've got a suggestion here. Rent a time machine from temporal meddling, go back to time that Jesus was supposedly preaching, interview lots of early Christians and get lots of, yeah, okay. That would be multiple sources. We just got the obstacle that we don't have time machines. Also, I kind of suspect that what you'd find if you could go back in time 2,000 years and talk to Jesus and the people around him is that you'd find he was just a run-of-the-mill Jewish preacher with no special abilities at all. Maybe a few nice ideas, probably had a few bad ideas too. Okay. Yes, I asked for citations. Would I accept a Chevy citation? No, I don't want a Chevy citation. I'll pass on that. Oh, Bill McDonald wants a red four-door and a blue two-door. Okay. You're going to throw those in? Well, I guess free automobiles, but I would just turn around and sell them. Okay, we got another comic book nerd. Oh, video game nerd. In Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if you're playing Thor or Amaterasu, Galactus will frequently say, if you are a god, then what is Galactus? Okay, I haven't played those games. I have no idea what you're talking about, but sure. A mild comment, that video icon is great. Yes, it's colorful. Apparently, this is what I have to do to get attention is you got to have a good, colorful thumbnail with big, bold statements on it, and that gets people's attention. Okay, this guy likes how I pronounce deity as daddy. Do I? Deity. I say deity. Does that sound like daddy? Okay. Andrew Jen says it's so sad this has to be stated in 2024, but thank you for stating it. We've been saying this for a long time. Atheists in general have been hammering on this stuff for a long, long time, and it doesn't sink in. Okay. And finally, last one, I think. I get hyped every time you post, whether it's spiders or atheism. I'm actually working on a post right now about genetics. So it will probably be my next videos is an interesting take on genetics, specifically chimeras and mosaics. So yeah, look forward to that. It'll come out this next week. So yeah, don't forget the Minnesota winters with pictures of heaps. I don't do that often, a few times. Yeah, and Captain Bart Roberts has not had a hard winter in nearly 15 years here in England. Okay. Yeah, we had a really wimpy winter this year, so I'd like to see something a little more robust next year, but we'll see. You'll have to watch my videos or read my blog to see all the photos of snow. That won't be that many. Okay, so that was all the comments on there. Let's see, what have we got over here? We got more comments. Oh, look, you guys have been chatting away. Did you say anything interesting? Yes, everything you said was interesting. Let's see. Okay, the Nova Saber says not all atheists are naturalists, but not all methodological naturalists are atheists either. Yes. Um, if you're an atheist and you're not a naturalist, what is your position? I don't know. That would have to be explained to me. But yeah, the whole point of methodological naturalism is that it gives believers an out because they can say, okay, I'm going to be a methodological naturalist. I'm just going to use science or use natural science in my publications and my work. But then I'll still go to church on Sundays. Fine. That's how it works. Let's see. Bronze Dog says, thinking about spiritual in a dualism sense just makes me look at the materialism with bald assertions of exotic materials. Okay, yeah, spiritual is a code word to hide that whole dualistic idea. The idea that there is a different world, a supernatural world beyond the natural world. Maybe there is. I don't know. You don't know. You don't have any evidence for that because it's a different whole different universe, a world out there, and how it would possibly interact with a natural world. I don't know. You've got no answer for that, anyone. Let's see. Michael Persinger had an experiment about the temporal lobes with the God helmet. Why has this work not been continued? Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, so Michael Persinger did this transcranial magnetic stimulation thing. He had a helmet and it could generate strong electromagnetic fields and could influence the activity of the brain beneath the electrodes, which is an interesting idea. And he apparently claimed to get some results about spirituality. He could induce spirituality in people. The problem with it is it's such a crude approach that people's brains are probably all different in subtle ways. And so transcranial magnetic stimulation was going to do different things to different people. And maybe you could find some general distribution that holds for the majority, but not all people. But whether that's useful or not is not at all obvious. And, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Richard Dawkins anymore, but Dawkins went through this and he had the helmet put on to induce spiritual feelings and God sensations and so forth. And it just didn't work on him. Yeah, I doubt that it would work on me either. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Bronze Dog on Jesus Before It's Too Late is about the same as cryptocurrencies. Have fun staying poor. Oh, yeah. Cryptocurrency is doing exactly the same thing as religion. It's making promises for the future that it never has to fulfill because all they want you to do is spend your money today so they can scoop it up. And then the whole cryptocurrency is going to fall apart before you can cash out. Let's see, is Rene Girard's mimetic theory invalid because of its connection to Christianity? Lots of things have connection to Christianity, okay? Isaac Newton was connected to Christianity. That doesn't mean that his work is invalid, at least not for that reason. There's other reasons why we've moved beyond it. Let's see. Do religious people just get atheist names wrong on purpose? It happens to Aaron Ra and to Paulogia. It's because we have such complicated, difficult names. Yeah, PZ, it's 2 letters long. How do you pronounce that? There's a bunch of weirdos who pronounce it PZ even. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Let's see. Okay, another comment. Also, even if Clint goes to a Mormon church, I don't think that's automatically different from going to a synagogue. Sometimes the ritual and the people are what's important. I agree. Yeah, that there are crazy churches out there, and I would say you are a bad person if you go to one of these mega churches that preaches MAGA nonsense and hates on transgender people. Yeah, you go to that one, I'm sorry, I'm going to damn you for it. It's not good. But a lot of churches, it's all about feeling good and getting together with your buddies and having that weak church coffee afterwards. Or maybe that's a Lutheran thing. Lutheran churches are infamous for their weak coffee and having the potlucks, all that kind of stuff. And sure, singing familiar songs. I hate to admit it, that's the only thing I miss about church is that I was in the choir. I was pretty active in the choir and I enjoyed singing. Don't ask me to do it now, though. I've forgotten how. Uh, but I was really into that for a while. And the instant I left the church, all the support for choirs disappears. You're not going to be singing anymore. Yeah. So yeah, the ritual, the people, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of churches have locked up some of the cultural aspects of being a human being, like music and singing. And you don't get those except if you want to listen to the radio. So, okay. A question. Why are you so controversial about Richard Dawkins and his book, The God Delusion? Am I controversial about that? I don't think so. Um, I think the God Delusion was a valuable book for its time. It was never sophisticated atheism. It was the raw basics, the simple stuff. So I kind of agreed with that. The problem is that Richard Dawkins has since become sort of a regressive a-hole. Well, maybe he was all along, but now it's become ever more obvious. So I can't very well support him anymore, which is unfortunate. I thought he was a fun guy to hang around with, and we had quite a few meetings and talked a fair bit. And yeah, it's like those people I've just said that I would disown if they were going to one of these really conservative, nasty churches. And it's the same with atheists. If atheists commit themselves to illiberal values, then I want nothing to do with them. Okay. The MVC. Oh, comic book nerds again. Okay. The MVC3 quote means that Galactus considers himself with justification far above most of what are called gods. Okay. Again, I'm not into the comic stuff. It's fine if you are, but okay, that's all good. It is interesting, though, that how do you define a god? This has always been a major stumbling block for me, is nobody can present a coherent definition of what a god is, except that it's some concatenation of superlatives. That's all they care about. Superman was a god, as far as that goes. Supernatural is just a euphemism for not real. Okay, I'd agree with that. Uh, let's see. Bronze Dog writes sci-fi dystopia involving such helmets being used for a cyber cult recruitment drive. Oh, what an interesting idea. That would be fun to try. Although there are easier ways to do this. Like, what was that cult, MVM, whatever that cult was, the the one that recently got prosecuted for a bunch of things. Why do you need a cyber helmet when you've got sex? Yeah, just get some touchy-feely, lovey-dovey, hardcore sex involved, and that's enough of a stimulus to convince you of just about anything being wonderful. Let's see. Question. Was the stroke, I presume this is referring to Dawkins' stroke, before elevator gate, because he's been saying dumb right-leaning stuff at least that long. No, the stroke was well after elevator gate. And once again, we got to be careful here. People have strokes all the time, and sometimes a stroke can have obvious debilitating effects, but doesn't necessarily affect personality or cognitive ability. So you can't say somebody's stupid because they had a stroke. Of course, there are cases where it does have serious cognitive effects, but Dawkins seems to be doing just fine on the lecture circuit, and he's still writing books, so we have to go easy on that. He was just a jerk to begin with. Didn't take a traumatic brain injury to change him. Okay, well, I think we've just gotten through all the comments here. I've answered all those comments that are currently on the video. So I think this is a good place to stop. And then I'll just mention once again, oh, let me go. Let's see, so you can see my face again. Yeah, that'll drive everyone away. You'll all be leaving this stream now because here I am looking at you. But anyway, as I said, I will be doing another video. I was working on it just this morning. I'm going to talk about uh, this problem that we have in science where too many people think genetics is the be all and end all. If you got the DNA sequence, you know what the person's going to be like, and it's pretty obvious that that can't work. And chimeras and mosaic individuals testify that it can't work. You are not a single unitary genetic being. In fact, there are portions of your brain that specifically get amplified genetically to produce cells that can function in there, and they have different genetic properties. And they don't reproduce, obviously, but you don't know what the effects of all this DNA stuff are on individual behavior because it varies so much. But I'll talk about that later this week. Yeah, I'm going to get back in the habit of making these videos. We'll make it happen. Okay. I think that's the place where we stop. Thank you for stopping by. And there probably will be more deranged comments on my videos in the future. We just can't help it. A question: how often do you get emails from evangelicals asking for debates? Oh, that's dropped off a lot because they're not totally insensitive. I have been so loud about the fact that I don't do debates anymore that I haven't been getting very many debate invitations. Instead, they just send me this, they plop in a whole bunch of garbage and send that to me and say, now you should be convinced. And I'm not, I never am. Oh, guys, you keep coming up with more questions. How much is communism based on magical thinking like Lysenko? Same with capitalist invisible hand as a belief. Yeah, they're both got their dogmas. Yeah, Lysenko was a grasping climber who just came up with something about vernalization to satisfy the intelligentsia of the Communist Party. And yeah, capitalism should be dead. We need an alternative to capitalism and to communism. So maybe socialism somewhere in there. Anarchism. Yeah, that would be cool, but that's not going to happen. Okay, closing comment. Evolution is a fact. Yes, that's all I need to know. Evolution is as much of a fact as anything. So I will stop right there and say goodbye to everyone. I've got to go fix dinner for my wife, so I'll get to work on that. And we'll talk to you later this week, I hope.